Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 20 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. I am Sam Fetterman, and we are overjoyed to finally welcome back Jonathan Lidskin.
It's good to be back.
It's been, 2 weeks?
Week and a half. Like we did that show Thursday before Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, it's been a while. But we've had some good stuff go on.
How was your week of covering basketball back home?
It was great. How was your week of watching the battle for Atlantis?
It was great. Watched a ton of basketball last week. Both high school and college. Was in the gym 4 days over break watching high school games, and then
I was in the same gym as John Fanta like 7 times. And the good news is we are planning on having him on the podcast at some point next month. Jonathan, we're going to logistically figure that out.
Excellent. Love
Off
to hear
camera. But that's going to be great. I was also talking to a bunch of other people around the show. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a good one because we're going to go over a tier list. I'm not going to show you the tier list, but we're going to go over it.
Yeah, you sent it to me earlier. I briefly looked at it, but ready to talk about it as always.
All right, so the cream of the crop, the 2 best teams in the country. I think there's a clear top 2 teams in college basketball right now. And I think that's Purdue and UConn. Jonathan, do you agree?
I don't think it's clear, but yeah, I would certainly argue that right now.
Really?
I think you could very much argue that Houston, Arizona, and Marquette are all in that tier as well.
And I have them as the next tier. Those 3 are knocking on the door.
And if I'm being honest, if I were to create my own tier list, Purdue would be in a tier of its own.
Really? You think Purdue is separate from UConn?
Yeah, I think Purdue's on a different level of
I get that, basically because
continuity right now.
And it's also because they have the they have the best resume in the country. Right at the moment, and you can't take that away from them right now.
Yeah.
Although UConn is going to add a huge win to their resume on Friday.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be in the house to see it.
Yeah, I'm telling you this. I've had multiple people tell me that I should go. If there were direct flights from Syracuse to Kansas City, I would go.
Bill Self is 305-17 in his career at Allen Fieldhouse, or at least he was as of February 23rd, 2023. So he has 17 losses at Allen Fieldhouse in his career, and I will be there to see number 18 on Friday.
I love how we both are so confident that UConn is going to win this game. What are your thoughts on
better right now than Kansas?
Yeah, and I have Kansas, by the way, in a different tier. But why do you think Purdue is in a tier of its own?
There's a level of continuity, comfort within the system, and just like familiarity overall that like I think Purdue has right now that I don't think anybody else in the country does. Like the way they execute right now is just at such a high level, and like granted they'll be figured out to an extent at some point later in the year. Like I don't know what extent that is. Last year I felt that was probably a lot lower of a ceiling because they were playing 2 freshmen, but these aren't freshmen anymore, and Lance Jones adds a different level to their team when it comes to defending the perimeter and attacking the basket that they really didn't have last year. I think they're just more complete than anybody else right now.
Yeah, and I'm looking through the tweet that I sent out on Wednesday. It was at the Maui Invitational. I said roster continuity plus most dominant player in the sport plus motivated team plus great head coach equals deadly MTE combo. Not sure why I didn't see this coming. Purdue was the most impressive team in Maui. They were the most consistent team in Maui. They have the best player in the country. They have a top 15 coach in the country. I know that I was very harsh on him, but honestly, I had to look back and just realize how good of a job he does every year. And I would like to officially apologize if I haven't already for any Matt Painter slander. I don't understand why I ever really did it. It
It's
was
okay.
it was the adaptability is still a question.
Hmm.
I'm not unconcerned, but it was not an excuse to drop him 30 spots below where he should be.
You can mark me down for this, and we can come back to it at a later time. This will be the year people stop questioning like his ability as a coach. Like I apologize by the way for any beeping that goes on.
It's okay.
My I'm gonna need to do something about that before I sleep. But like I know you can pull St. Peter's, you can pull North Texas, you can pull FDU if you want, but like this team has it all. They have arguably the best player in the sport.
No, not arguably. They have the
Very
best
likely the
player.
best player in the sport.
No, it's not very likely. He is the best player in the sport.
They have
Like I was like, Kai 3-Man Weave. He tweeted out, "I giggle every time Zach Edey scores. He's unfair." And then I quote tweeted that with, "That last possession was hilarious, man. Lawyer passed up an open wing 3 to draw the defender back out and give the ball right back to Edey."
yeah.
This should not work as well as it does, but it does.
Yeah, he's the most unstoppable player we've had in college basketball in a very long time.
Anthony Davis,
yeah, and even he at the offensive end wasn't nearly like this.
I mean, he was 1 for 11 in the national championship game, and he was the best player on the floor.
Yeah, it's just
I still think that I still think it's impossible to. I still think Anthony Davis is the most dominant college basketball player I've ever seen. But Zach Edey is past Zion.
I mean, just with Purdue, like I said, these guards aren't freshmen anymore. They look extremely more comfortable when it comes to facing pressure, and even if they aren't, Lance Jones is there and playing big minutes and has been a crucial part to this team so far.
They won that game by 3.
Listen, you can say all you want about don't make picks before you see a bracket, but this team will go deep into the tournament.
Yeah,
I'm very confident about that.
I don't know if you were listening to the Ion College Basketball podcast on Friday.
I was not.
But something that Norlander and Parrish noticed, or were told by the Purdue SID Chris Foreman, was that Purdue is now the first team in Big Ten history to be ranked number 1 3 straight years. Indiana never did it. Michigan State never did it.
Wow.
No other Big Ten team in history. Not Michigan, not Illinois, not Rutgers, not Nebraska, not Northwestern. None of those schools ever did it. Not Minnesota, Penn State.
Not Northwestern. You're talking about the number 3. They don't even have that in NCAA tournament appearances.
Yeah. And then over to UConn. Tonight, Donovan Clingan had 29 points on 12 shots.
That's what I like to hear.
He's pretty good at basketball.
That's what I like to hear.
It's what I like to hear too. I don't care. By the way, right now he's averaging 14 points and 7 rebounds and 1 and 2 blocks. I'm doing pretty good there. But
I think his minutes will go up as the year goes along, though.
But Cam Spencer entering today was the team's leading scorer.
St. Mary's is gonna miss the tournament, man.
Really? Are they losing again?
They're down 7 in the first half.
To who?
Utah at home.
Oh, fuggity gug.
St. Mary's doesn't have the luxury of just making this up in the months of January and February.
I mean, they are they even the second best team in their league?
Santa Clara.
We might have to push that. I don't care they lost by 30 to Ohio State. We're pushing that. We're pushing that agenda. Yeah. I have. We'll talk about where I have Ohio State in a bit, but let's talk about the next tier that we have, which is knocking on the door. Knock, 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 knock. The three teams knocking on the door that I mentioned: the University of Houston, the University of Arizona, and Marquette University. Where do you want to start?
Marquette.
Okay, they will peak in January.
You think?
I'm just looking at the way that they're playing. They are moving so much quicker than they were at any point last year. That team is not going to keep this pace for an entire season. They're just not. I think right now there are not 5 better teams in the country. But come February, I'm not sure.
I mean,
If Shaka has a track record of doing it, look, this might be his most talented team ever. And if this is the team that makes the deep run, that's fine. But I'm gonna call a spade and say there's a damn good chance that this team is playing its best basketball right now rather than playing its best basketball in March.
I still don't trust Shaka, like, even in the slightest. He since leaving VCU, his only tournament win is against Vermont. Like, that's a fact.
It is.
And ultimately, this team looks better than they did a year ago. Like,
this team right now,
they
almost look too good right now.
They're a lot more dynamic. They're a lot more athletic. But like the pullback is Shaka.
And for me, the pullback is just they look too good. They look too energetic. You don't want to blow all your gas before the final lap.
Yeah, we're not telling them to like not try or anything like that. But
no, I just think that they are playing with a level of intensity that is not required for November. It looked awesome. They demolished Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
But even at this level of intensity, I don't think they shoot well enough compared to last year's team. I don't think they're meaningfully better than last year as a whole.
I mean, so far they've looked better than the 17th best team in the country, which is what I projected them to be.
Oh, absolutely. They are right now the 5th best team or 3rd or 4th best team in college basketball.
So,
and I'm not taking that away from them. And they will be ranked in the top 5 until proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a better chance that I think of any of the teams in my top 8, which is what I have top of any other team in the top 5, there's a better chance that Marquette is playing its best basketball right now than any of the other teams, I would say. And I also think that might be just because they have the worst coach of this group.
Yeah.
And that's nothing against Shaka. I think he's a great coach, but he's not Tommy Lloyd, Dan Hurley, Kelvin Sampson, or Matt Painter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but he's been to a Final Four. Shut up.
I don't care what people have did in 2011.
Yeah. Hey, if we're talking about 2011, Jim Calhoun's the best coach in the country.
Dude, in 2011, I was, what, like in 4th grade?
I was in 1st grade.
I don't care.
All right.
I
on Arizona.
Hadn't even learned algebra yet.
Algebra? I hadn't even learned. I was barely learning multiplication.
Dude, you were learning the alphabet.
I knew the alphabet when I was 3.
Sure you did.
All right, to Arizona, the 11th fastest team in the country, a team that has scored 100 points 3 times and 97 another. And the only 2 times they haven't, they've scored 78 and 74 against top 25 foes.
Good Caleb, bad Caleb?
And it's been mostly good Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
He's got really only a 50 true shooting, and he's only shooting 27% from 3, but like good. His playmaking is a lot better. He's averaging like 5 assists a game.
I don't have the numbers to back this up, but it seems like he's playing much better defense than he was a year ago.
I agree. Kashad Johnson looks like a superstar.
Yeah.
Do you think he's been the best? I think he's been the best player on his team.
Yeah. I've also been super impressed with Mo Krivas. Like,
yeah, and I Boswell too. Boswell
like
might.
Foreign freshman that's just not soft at all, has really good touch around the rim. Like,
Yeah, and I think Kylan Boswell also looks like one of the best players in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Bradley's a great defender. KJ Lewis has been great. I just think this team is stacked. And they look great defensively as well. They're menacing on the boards, and that's what Kashad Johnson, I think, gives them that you didn't get quite as much of with Tubelis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kashad Johnson being one of the best rebounders in the country, you get that. Boswell's a better rebounder than Kriisa. KJ Lewis brings rebounding. Krivas is a beast on the glass. All the foreign kids are really good rebounders. Morauskas and Barovich Philip. They're great rebounders. Caleb Love has even been fine on the glass. I think they are just dominant on the glass right now. They have so many playmakers. Caleb Love is a playmaker. Kashad Johnson's been a playmaker. Boswell, Larson, Jaden Bradley. Philip is a playmaker. They have that Conrad Martinez kid who's a playmaker.
You pretty much hit it. Like,
they just have so many weapons on offense and so many rebounders on defense that they're going to be tough to beat. But December 16th, they play at Purdue. I
think I'm going to that game.
Indianapolis. December 20th, they host Alabama in Phoenix. Those two games are going to be really interesting. They also play Wisconsin on December 9th at McHale and FAU on the 23rd in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 4-game grind right before Pac-12 play. The only game they have between now and then is Colgate. They're not to be scoffed at either.
Your Syracuse Orangemen know that very well. Want to move to Houston?
Yeah, let's talk about. No, I don't want to move to Houston. I want to talk about Houston. I definitely don't want to move there.
I think that's fair. I've never been there.
This is the best defense in the country.
Yeah.
I know that the metrics will tell you Tennessee's better, but this is the best defense in the country.
Are they your favorite to win the Big 12 right now?
Absolutely.
I won't doubt Kansas. But
I'm not doubting Bill Self, but Houston's deeper. I mean, Houston's played the 41st most bench minutes in the country. Mm-hmm. They are blocking everything. Their guards play with such active hands. They are forcing 26.2% turnovers and 41% effective field goal percentage.
Only one player on their team is playing above 65% of the minutes right now.
That's LJ Cryer, who you were really concerned about defensively, but it doesn't matter. The rest of their defense is so great, and he shoots 40% from 3, and he's taking over 6 attempts a game. The guy's a star.
Yeah.
I mean, JoJo Tugler has been awesome in his minutes. Javier Francis has been awesome. They have just so many guys that can block shots, grab steals, make plays. Jamal Shed is fifth in the country in assist rate right now. By the way, can you name the 4 guys ahead of him?
Tyler Kolek.
Nope.
No.
I think you'll get one of them.
Is Kevin McCullough?
It's Reese Beekman.
Okay.
And then Johannes Kirsipu, Jack Campion, and Savion Lewis.
Okay. Yeah, I'm.
Kolek, by the way, is. I don't even know where he is on here.
This Houston team.
Kolek is 92nd.
This Houston team doesn't have the preseason hype that it did last year. It's like a national championship contender, but they are just as good. if not better, than they were a year ago.
Yeah. Okay, maybe not better. I think last year's team with Jarris and Sasker was.
They kind of sputtered down the stretch last year, which
Oh,
like
come on. But let's not use revisionist history here to say that we didn't think this team was by far the best team in the country.
I mean, they were like not playing to the level of their opponent, but like they played with their food a lot in late in
A
the year.
little, a little. I mean, they played with their food at Memphis.
I mean, they always did, but like they weren't covering spreads a lot at the end of the year last year, which like I know like you'll say like okay, like they're still winning the games, like do what you want with that, but like that'll lose you Ken Palm points. They weren't
Yeah.
they weren't playing better than Ken Palm and analytics anticipated them playing.
And that's fine. I mean, look, they they beat the crap out of Towson and Dayton, and they handled Utah. They came back and dominated Montana. Friday at Xavier Cintas Center, only 3 teams have won. Only 3 non-conference teams have won at the Cintas Center since Xavier moved to the Big East. Can you name them?
Only 3 teams in non-con have won at Xavier since they moved to the Big East.
Yep.
Indiana last year.
Yep. Cincinnati is not one of them.
I was gonna say I don't think they did it when Cronin was there.
Come on,
like
Oakland tonight.
Oakland. Oh, I didn't know that was counted. Like
it is. It is.
Okay, so Oakland tonight, and then
and
the other?
Wisconsin in 2018.
I have no recollection of that game.
77-68. Ethan Happ had 30. Demetric Trice had 22.
Yeah, I mean that was a good Wisconsin team.
So. And it was a good Xavier team too, right? No, it was a bad Xavier team.
2019, no, that team was not good.
Yeah, no, that was a bad Xavier team. The good Xavier team was the year before. Yep, those are the only 3 to do it. Will Houston become the 4th?
Yes, they will.
All right, let's talk about the next tier. Y'all could all be top 5 at some point, but Maui is a bitch.
Yes, it is.
This tier is Kansas, Tennessee, and Gonzaga. I mean, are they like? There's a coherent argument for this being 6, 7, and 8 right now.
I don't know if this is probably not what you saw in Maui this last weekend is probably not Final Four in Tennessee.
No, Tennessee disappointed me in Maui because
this might be Final Four in Kansas.
They proved to me, Tennessee, this weekend that they need Dalton Connect to be Dalton Connect, the SEC Player of the Year, in order to win.
And they just they need Vescovy and Ziegler to start going again. Like I know Vescovy was good against Kansas, but they need those guys to start going again. Like it feels like Connect is kind of just trying to do this on his own right now.
And he can't.
Correct.
He's great. He's one of the top 10-ish players in the country, probably.
Mm-hmm.
He can't do this all on his own.
Yeah.
He's shooting 38% from 3. He's been incredible. He's one of the National Player of the Year favorites right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Zakai Ziegler is shooting 18% from 3, and Santiago Vescovy is shooting 29% from 3. Ziegler's not known as a shooter, but you got to be better than that. Vescovy, for a guy that is known as a shooter, you got to be better than that.
Yeah.
Just offensively, I thought bad against Syracuse, bad against Purdue, bad against Kansas, under 1 point per possession in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to jump about their offense, which will be better, regardless of if this is what Tennessee is or not. they're going to need to be better than this if they want to get to the next level. And
And I think it will be.
that starts with the veterans getting back to playing how they were a year ago.
Wednesday night, North Carolina, Dean Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Next Tuesday, home against George Mason. Keyshawn Hall's an interesting challenge. And then next Saturday, December 9th, which is an awesome day for college basketball, by the way, it's Illinois and Tennessee. By the way, we are 8 days away from Game of the Year.
Yes.
Were you wondering how long it would take for a mention?
I was a little bit.
Of Mississippi University for women against your McNeese Cowboys.
Yeah. Wow. We'll have to go split screen with some conference championship games that day.
That's not a Saturday.
The 9th?
It's the 5th.
Oh.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm an idiot and also don't know the days of the week.
I just said 8 days away. Today's Monday. What are you buying?
Dude, I've had a very long day.
You think I haven't? I had to write a whole paper today for a class that I haven't been to in like 2 weeks.
Bravo.
It's probably been longer than 2 weeks, honestly, because they canceled it like 3 times.
Is this Final Form Kansas? What we saw this last week.
My question is, where are they getting better?
I have the same questions. Maybe Marco Jackson gets better as the year goes along, but like, how much does that elevate you?
I mean, does Johnny Furphy get better as the year goes on?
No.
Like 36% of the minutes he's shooting, like cool, but he played 11 and 12 minutes against Tennessee and Marquette. Is the best version of Kansas a team that in March is playing Johnny Furphy 20 minutes a game?
Right.
Like, that's the kind of question that we're looking, because like, where else are you getting better? I mean, Nick Timberlake has been, for lack of a better word, a disaster.
The problems that they have like aren't things that like can be fixed as the season goes along. You can't add players to your roster mid-season.
I just think they
without injuries.
I just think they need better out of Marco Jackson and out of the other freshmen.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah. I mean, Hunter's great, but I think this team is going to get. Oh, I also didn't expect Kevin McCullough randomly turning into Kobe. Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
But like, they got emasculated by Marquette. And I'll give credit. They beat Tennessee. They took it to Tennessee, and they comfortably won that game. And Dickinson is a monster on the glass. But what did you say? Bill Self's record was at Allen Fieldhouse?
As of February 23rd last year, it was 305-17.
305-18 coming on Friday. Dan Hurley is going to have his. It's crazy to say this about a national champion head coach. His marquee win.
You know what's even crazier about that?
What?
Like, not even how long ago it was March. I don't even know. 7 months, 8 months. 7 months ago, you sat on a call with me and uttered the sentence, "Do we really trust Dan Hurley to win a game against Bill Self?" And now, less than a year later, you are like very confidently picking them to win and win in a building that Bill Self has lost 17 times in like over.
To be fair,
games.
Bill Self had more weapons last year.
Yeah.
Bill Self has like 2 weapons.
Yeah.
Dickinson and McCullough. DeJuan Harris needs to be more aggressive, and I've said this all offseason, and he hasn't been. DeJuan Harris is right now, he's great. He's not playing like a top 5 point guard in the country right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the point guard on the other side is playing a heck of a lot better than he is. And we never put him in the top 5 point guard in the country conversations.
Correct.
And Dan Hurley is looking. I mean, that March stretch for Dan Hurley might have been the most impressive coaching performance in an NCAA tournament that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Last team to win every NCAA tournament game by double digits en route to a national championship was
Villanova, 2018.
yeah.
All right, moving on.
Zags.
Oh, we didn't even talk about them. What is there really to talk about with Gonzaga at this point?
I like them. I think they're a national championship contender. They got a tough draw. Like,
yeah, I don't really think there's too much to it.
I think we'll learn more about them as the season goes along.
They need to shoot better, plain and simple.
Like they got USC in a week, less than a week.
That's a big game for both teams.
You got that game at Washington, who's looked pretty good so far.
And then December 15th, Seattle, UConn.
Mm-hmm.
You wanna prove that you're a national championship contender? Go beat UConn. I don't care if it's a home game or a semi-home game. Go beat them.
Yeah.
And then you have San Diego State on December 29th. You don't have many more chances for quality wins. This is not the same Gonzaga schedule as it was a couple years ago.
Especially if St. Mary's keeps stinking it up. By the way, game tied at the half.
I'll tell
10
you what.
points. 10 points for Gabe Madsen.
So far,
14
Gonzaga
for
has had
him.
the 10th toughest schedule in the country. But so far, they don't have a single win that I am 100% confident is going to be quad one. I am 99.9% confident UCLA is going to be quad one.
Yeah.
There's a chance they're not top 50.
I'd say I'm 99.9% too.
But like 10th hardest schedule in the country and you have one quad one win to show for it.
Yeah.
USC might that means USC and then Washington's going to be a quad one opportunity because it's a road game. UConn, San Diego State. So it's possible that you only have 4 or 5 more quad one opportunities in your entire season. That's disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, Gonzaga could end up going like 25-7, being a 7 seed.
Wouldn't want to play them if they were a 7 seed.
I mean, they went 28-8 in 2016, and they were an 11 seed.
Yeah.
I mean, that year they beat UConn, they beat Washington, neutral sites. But they didn't have as great of a non-conference schedule in terms of winning top-end games. They lost to A&M in Arizona and UCLA, who were tournament teams that year, I think. UCLA wasn't, but the other two were. Regardless, this Gonzaga team, schedule-wise, is, I would say, worse off. Because if you don't beat San Diego State, if you go into conference play with quad one wins over UCLA, USC, and Washington, and then you win a quad one, then you only have one quad one opportunity for sure remaining, and that's probably at St. Mary's is going to be quad one, but I can't even confirm that right now. There's a chance they finish this season with 4 or 5 quad one wins. That's not getting you a top 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're 31-5, even if you're 31-4, you're not getting a top 4 seed with.
And that's assuming they don't like slip up in conference at all.
Oh, say they go 27-6 going into the NCAA tournament because 31 games. Wait, is it 31 or do they play 29? They play 30. So and then 2 in the conference tournament. 27-5. So they go 27-5. That's probably getting them a 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
If those losses are USC, UConn, San Diego State, and St. Mary's, That's probably getting you a 5 seed.
And at that point, like, it's an uphill battle to keep your second weekend streak alive.
Yep. Let's talk about the teams that I thought had really good MTE week bounce backs. Two teams that really saved their stock. Those would be the Owls of Florida. The Florida Atlantic Flamingos and the Villanova Wildcats. You want to start with the Dusty Mays Flamingos?
After all the slander, after all the haha told you so's.
By the way, they are going to now be up in the metrics all year for what they did yesterday.
After all the victory laps and all of that, from the people that called them overrated, FAU sits 4 KenPom spots below where they finished last year after going to the Final Four.
And look, this is a round where I think they'll sit most of the year, 21 to 30 range. And people will call it, people will say, oh, they're not a top 20 team. They're not a top 10 team. What are they, 13th in the AP poll? Oh, they don't deserve that. Who cares? This is a good basketball team. My opinion on them has not changed at all from the beginning of the season. Has yours?
No, not in the slightest.
They really needed that MTE win, though. But we got to talk about the schedule that they got coming up. Liberty at home on Thursday night is a
tough,
bonkers mid-major game because Liberty is right now 6-0
and 39th in KenPom
and 39th in KenPom. They just beat Wichita State by 17, Furman by 14.
Nope, sorry, 38th. They moved up.
Charlotte by 12 and Maryland Eastern Shore by 37. They have the third best effective field goal percentage in the country. Kyle Road has been awesome. And Colin Porter hasn't really even been doing all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Now is who we kind of thought would be their top guy coming in. But Kyle Road has been their top guy. He's been a superstar. Caden Matheny's been great. Zach Cleveland, Joseph Vincent. Their lineup is really, really good.
Okay. So, obviously, CUSA got a lot worse because the teams left.
It's a completely different league.
Teams left and went to the American. 26-5, 13-3 projected on KenPom. That's not going to cut it as an at-large.
Well, okay, let's see. What if you say, okay, yeah, 26-5 doesn't cut it.
But like, what would?
27-4, I think, gets you in.
Obviously, conference tournament, you don't want to take a quad 4 loss.
There. Yeah, no, if you take a quad at 2.
Yeah.
But right now in that conference, the second highest ranked KenPom team is 94, Louisiana Tech.
Mm-hmm.
That's not great.
Nova?
I wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
FAU then has Charleston, Illinois, FIU, St. Bonaventure, Arizona, Florida Gulf Coast. Say they lose to Arizona, Illinois. You are, what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-3. You have wins over A&M, Butler, Virginia Tech, Liberty, Charleston, Loyola Chicago, Bonaventure. How many losses can you afford in regular season conference play? 3, 4?
Yeah.
4, I'd say, is the max, assuming you don't pick up a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not a bad league, but 24-8, 26-8 gets them in probably.
Yeah.
As a 10 seed. But I think they probably go 28-7 and get a 6 seed.
They could get some of the Utah State treatment from last year, where they could take a couple bad ones and still be okay if their metrics are really good.
And they're going to have 2021-22 Virginia Tech disease, where their metrics are skewed from an early season MTE blowout.
That was the Bonaventure game, right?
Yeah, they beat them by 45 or something.
That's a term we need to use more often.
Dude,
21-22 Virginia Tech disease.
they beat them by 37 on a neutral.
That's awesome.
They were 10-10 in the ACC. They were 2-7 in the ACC, and they were 42nd in KenPom.
I thought they were higher.
No. They were 42nd after they were 2-7. They moved up to eventually 25th after the ACC tournament.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we need to get going.
And they just blew the fuck out of them. Florida Atlantic up 16 spots in KenPom from beating Virginia Tech by 34.
It's unreal.
Villanova.
We're back.
Has your opinion changed at all on Villanova?
I mean, yeah, I don't think they're the sixth best team in the country right now, but like, I think they're a top 15 team.
Why? By the way, I will say I've been a little disappointed by Hakeem Hart.
Yeah,
Wanted more, but Eric Dixon, man, guy's a star.
Yeah, dude can play.
Joe's, and then the Big Five game, and then K-State, UCLA, Creighton. Sorry, 4 non-con games left. Joe's, and then either Drexel, LaSalle, Temple.
Is that UCLA game the return from the Hum and Hum a couple years ago?
It is, I believe. It is at Wells Fargo.
Okay. That game that they played against UCLA.
I think they'll go into conference play 10-1. I think they'll go into Manhattan and beat Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State's got all sorts of issues right now.
Look,
better.
If we say you are one bad shooting night away from being 11-0 going into Creighton, who's probably also going to be one bad shooting night away from being 11-0. That game, December 20th, at in Omaha, has game of the year potential.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else to say there?
No.
All right, 4 teams in the undefeated but not fully convinced this is a top 10 team tier. I'll start with the team that I think is the best of this group, and that's Miami.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm more of the thinking that there's really not 10 top 10 teams right now. Because I'm not even sure FAU and Villanova are top 10 teams. I think Creighton is probably better than FAU and Villanova, and Memphis is right there with them. And those teams are probably, and Creighton's probably the closest thing of that group to a top 10 team.
Mm-hmm.
But Miami is probably going to rank in a top 10, not because they're a top 10 caliber team. Anyway, tomorrow night they have Kentucky at Rupp.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think it's a winnable game. It's veterans against young guys.
It's time to really prove it. In Miami right now, 46% from 3. Number 1 in the country.
Probably not sustainable.
Matthew Cleveland is shooting 50%. Bensley Joseph is shooting 56%. Wooga Poplar is
shooting Player of the Year candidate Matthew Cleveland to you.
You mean National Player of the Year candidate Matthew Cleveland?
Yeah.
All right, fine. The other teams I have in that tier are BYU, Mississippi State, and Baylor. Rank those 3 teams.
Matthew Cleveland is top 40, top 50 in offensive rating, effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage.
All right. Rank Baylor.
Playing 80% of the minutes, mind you.
Rank Baylor, BYU, and Mississippi State.
Baylor 1, Miss State 2, BYU 3.
What do you still need to see from BYU?
I need to see them play, Sam. I'd be lying if I said I've watched this team play a half of basketball so far.
I'm not gonna lie. Same.
Like, I know they can shoot. I know that, but like, I need to figure out what else this team does well, and if it's sustainable or not. Because like, they came out and had a really good start to the year a couple years ago and missed the tournament entirely.
Oh yeah, that was when they were top 8 in the country.
I'm gonna check out.
All right, we got to move a little quicker here. Then I got the I'll let you off the hook for an ugly loss now, but my eyes are open tier of Creighton and Memphis. Any objections?
I think both those teams are gonna be fine. Like,
I agree.
Memphis-
I think Creighton's going to be a top 5, top 10 team in the country. Memphis is going to be top 20.
also, like, welcome to at-large conversation, Colorado State.
We'll get into them in a minute. One loss, but one loss, borderline top 10, 15, 20 team. Duke, Texas A&M, Auburn, San Diego State, Kentucky, Illinois.
Only real objection there is Illinois.
Really?
I don't think they've quite looked the part so far. Like, I can get behind them being a top 20 team though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Like, I can get like, I probably wouldn't put them there right now, but like,
I just think that defensively they've looked good.
Sure. I'm like, Kentucky has exceeded my expectations so far.
Totally agree.
San Diego State, despite the early loss to BYU, which now looks fine, like, it has looked phenomenal. Like, Auburn is still really good. Obviously, didn't get tested much in the Empire Classic, but like, will have their opportunities. A&M, like, they look like A&M, and then Duke is not crisp yet, but still looks good enough.
All right, I have another tier called Intrigued. In this tier, Iowa State, Texas, North Carolina, Ohio State, Providence, and Florida. And you can also throw Wisconsin in there.
Yeah, I think I agree. So the teams I feel most comfortable in this tier right now with are Iowa State, because they have a real identity and always will under TJ Otzelberger, and UNC, because, to put it bluntly, UNC so far has been pretty impressive to me, and I don't think they're playing the right guys.
No.
So, like imagine if like they change some things up in their rotation and things could look even better than they do right now.
I mean, Elliot Cadeau is playing 52% of the minutes. I don't think he's looked good compared to what I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
But like they need a healthy Cormac Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably one of their most effective players for this team at their peak. I think Ohio State's been really good.
Yeah.
Impressive win against Alabama. We'll get into Alabama in a minute. And then they blew out Santa Clara, which I think is a really impressive win. Like, winning by 30 against Santa Clara, that's a team that I'm a big fan of. So, props for that. Providence, they lost to Miami, but they demolished Wisconsin. They handled I clicked on the wrong team. They lost to Kansas State. They beat Georgia. Kansas State lost to Miami. They handled Wisconsin. They handled Lehigh. Next big game for them is Oklahoma. We'll get into Oklahoma in a minute. On December 5th. That's a week from tomorrow. Then Florida. They're a totally different team with Zion Pullen. I think the key for Walter Clayton Jr. has always been having that second ball dominant guard.
Yeah.
And it was like that at Iona, and it's going to continue to be like that.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
All right. So moving forward to the next tier, I'm not sure. This tier is Alabama, Virginia, Colorado, Pitt, and UCLA.
Okay. I'll start here, and I'll go through these because Alabama. I'm pretty sure I know what they are
What are
because
they?
I said this in the offseason, and it's looking like it's true so far. Alabama, without length and a legitimate NBA player in their front court, is like what they were in 21-22. They're going to be a really good offensive team all year. They're going to struggle to get stops, and they're going to have to beat you scoring in the high 80s.
And like, here's the thing. Look, they don't not have length. I mean, their guards are pretty big. They have a lot of a
It's
lot of 6'10" guys,
it's
but
defensive length.
they're not defenders.
Yeah,
If they
it's defensive length and versatility.
what they have is offensive length. They will spread you out and hit shots. But yeah, go on, Virginia.
Virginia, like very much like with you, really not sure what they are. Like I thought they were good, and then they went and got their ass kicked by Wisconsin. Colorado, like definitely better than I expected, but like still really
I
not
also
sure.
think that KJ Simpson and Tristan Da Silva are kind of unsustainably good right now.
Mm-hmm. Pitt, like I've liked what I've seen, but again, like not quite sure yet.
I think that I have not like I've been impressed with Carlton Carrington. I'm not calling him by his nickname on this podcast. I'm just not. I'm calling him Carlton Carrington. I've been
I'll, I'll,
impressed.
I'll call him Bub.
I
Why not?
think I think that's a ridiculous nickname for a grown man, but
Um,
I think he's been good, but I want to see what his numbers look like in a month.
so, and then the last one, UCLA. Like, here's the thing. I'm not sure. Like to the point, I'm not sure in the fact that like I'm not sure if this team can get to like the expectations I had for them. What I am sure about is that they're a young team that's going to get better throughout the year. That's already competing with some of the best teams in the sport, and because of that, I think this team is going to be a team that like that late in the year starts to peak, and you won't want to see them come tournament time.
I don't disagree, but right now I'm not sure. Moving on. Undefeated but not fully convinced that this is a top 25 team. Nebraska, Oklahoma, Colorado State, TCU.
Oklahoma, I'm like pretty sold on right now because they're well coached and like it's about time like some of those guys figured out the system and their transfers are really coming together too.
We got to talk Tony though. We got to talk Tony.
Like the thing with Nebraska is like I think I was higher probably on them than maybe anybody else in the preseason.
Me too. I think we were both very high on them. I think I had them top 60.
Like they just haven't played anyone yet.
Yeah, no.
And like they're gonna play. They play Creighton this week, so like we'll find out.
Was it last year that they beat Creighton,
I have no idea.
or was that 2 years ago?
Might have been 2 years ago.
Where are they in KenPom?
They are
46. They're 46.
I had them at 44 in the preseason.
They beat Creighton last year on the road.
They can score.
Yeah, and Kesey's back. He's great. Rank Moss has been one of the best players in the country. No surprise to us on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's good. I think
like,
they're.
By the way, like KenPom projects them 20-11 and 10-10 in the Big Ten. That probably gets you in,
especially with the fact that they've had no funny business.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, they lost to St. John's by 20 on the road, a bad St. John's team.
Forgot about that.
And like that kind of like they went 16-16. They lost to Minnesota. Like they didn't have any terrible losses. They only had one loss outside the top 80.
Mm-hmm.
But like they accumulated too many. Like 2 years ago, they opened up the season losing to Western Illinois. Funny business. First day of the season. Then 3 years ago, they lost to Nevada on the first day of the season. Funny business. Again, that was not a good Nevada team. 2020, Riverside and Southern Utah and George Mason within the first 6 games of the season. Funny business. The key to making a tournament as a Big Ten team like Nebraska is not having funny business. And so far, there's been no funny business for them. Like, I look at what Penn State did last year. There was no funny business. They were 11-3 going into Michigan. Their losses were 2-point loss neutral to Virginia Tech, 7-point double overtime loss at Clemson, and a 9-point home loss to Michigan State. That's not funny business.
All right.
Like, you look at Northwestern last year, Auburn and Pitt were their 2 losses. The Pitt loss was a big one, but those losses, it's not funny business. Those are tournament teams. You can't be having any funny business. Nebraska, having avoided funny business, puts themselves, if they go 500 in the conference, in the tournament.
Any thoughts on Colorado State?
Steve is him. Jalen Lake is really good. Patrick Cartier. It's a good team. And TCU needs to play somebody with a pulse. Like TCU, I think, has played all of their games against the Mississippi University for women.
Like,
who is TCU's best opponent so far?
Elkhorn State, who's Omaha, who's 265 in Ken.
Oh my God, that is pathetic.
Like,
and it's not like they play anybody. They play Georgetown on Saturday, Clemson next Saturday. Who's okay? That's their best opponent. They go into Kansas. They go into fucking Allen Fieldhouse on January 6th. They're gonna be toting an 11-0 record to Allen Fieldhouse on January 6th.
I mean, that Clemson game is
it's gonna be the most embarrassing event on January 6th in the history of America.
I mean, that Clemson game is far from a sure thing, but like, I mean, Arizona State,
we'll talk about them in a minute. And okay,
Arizona State couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat right now.
Speaking of Clemson, by the way, undefeated, but I'm not fully convinced they're a top 50 team. This is the lowest tier of undefeateds. Cincinnati, Clemson, and Ole Miss.
I looked at Ole Miss's schedule today, by the way, and like,
worst mistake of my life.
First of all, talk about a team that's teetering the line of funny business.
They are 128th in KenPom. They lost. They won by 1 against Detroit Mercy, by 3 against the good Sam Houston team, and by 1 against Temple. They are 128th in KenPom at 5-0 as an SEC team. This is a team that we both thought was going to be top 35 in the country.
I mean, they're a projected 7-point underdog in like 13 days at UCF. Nobody's a projected underdog against UCF.
That's a problem. What are your thoughts on Clemson?
Better than I thought they were going to be. Get the ball out of Joe Girard's hands and you'll be fine.
And Cincinnati?
Need to see more of them. Like, I love that Aziz is cleared now. Like, they've actually like went out and like haven't like effed around. Like,
yeah, no, they've been kicking teams' ass.
UIC is like all of a sudden good.
Yeah, so like, UIC's insane.
So beating them by 11 like is fine. And like they killed Detroit. Eastern Washington was a 12-point win. They killed Northern Kentucky, and then they beat the fighting Josh Pastners by 35. So
all right, next tier, Kirk Cousins, Iowa, Seton Hall.
Wait. Oh, this was on a different one. Okay.
The Kirk Cousins tier.
I mean, they just played each other.
They're both mid. Next.
Yeah.
Intrigued, but not as good as the other Intrigued, and that's Butler.
You could have just said Pierre Brooks, man. Like, this is such a missed opportunity.
I sent this to Pat, and he said, you should have just written Revenge Tour and had the entire Butler team. I mean, they're not bad. They kicked Penn State's ass, right?
Yeah.
They won their 3rd game, right?
Let me check on that. I think I was driving yesterday during the 3rd day, so yeah, they beat Boise State by 14. Good win.
Good win. Good win. Boise State, by the way, disappointing. Unconvinced and disappointing. This tier is Arkansas, Michigan State, Maryland, and USC.
I have no objections here.
Give it some time. That's St. John's.
Yeah, Luis kind of changes their team. So
I'll judge you when you're healthy. Kansas State and Oregon.
yeah,
You're terrible.
well,
You're sorry.
healthy, or like you have all your players back.
All right. The next tier is you're not terrible, but it's not looking good. That's Mizzou and Michigan.
I'm going to step in here. Mizzou is terrible.
Okay.
They are a terrible basketball team.
Okay, go.
I was looking at their schedule today. This team is not like this team may not finish above 500. Like they're projected 13 and 18 on KenPom, 6 and 12. 6 and 12 for in the SEC. I said to David Campbell today while I was sitting at lunch, I don't know if I'm going to call the SEC tournament for the station this year. I don't know if I'll have that luxury. What I will do is go to Nashville to cover the tournament for Tennessee, for SI. I told David Campbell today, by the time I get to Nashville for the SEC tournament, there is a very good chance that Mizzou is out already.
All right. Anyway, next tier. For the love of God, run offensive sets. This
What?
tier.
What? Is this Syracuse?
It's Syracuse and Indiana.
Oh, you changed this around a little bit.
I did. This
Okay.
tier is Syracuse and Indiana.
Okay.
I went on my Syracuse rant a few days ago with
Okay.
Pat.
Could I have a question for you?
Go ahead.
If you're Mike Woodson, what are you running with this team?
Away?
Is your best option just like continuously running game cups off elevator screens?
Just post up Khalil Ware and like I don't know, give Trey Galloway pin downs?
Well, Mike Woodson needs to drive a couple hours and go spend some time with Matt Painter learning how to run screen and seal sets.
Get ready to learn post ups, buddy. Get ready to learn the 3-point line, buddy.
All right, what else we got?
The next tier is you're just plain terrible. That tier is West Virginia, Arizona State, and Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Then there's you're even worse than terrible. This tier is Georgetown alone.
Okay.
And then the final tier, you're even worse than terrible. I cannot physically describe how bad you are without inflicting pain and committing war crimes. These two teams face each other on December 9th in Game of the Century. Louisville and DePaul.
Okay, can I say something? And I cannot believe I'm
Please,
saying this.
please do not.
Louisville is miles better than DePaul.
Oh no, it's not even close.
Like miles better.
It's not even close.
Like,
DePaul might be like as bad as Louisville was last year.
dude, DePaul lost to Purdue Fort Wayne. They lost by double digits to Northern Illinois.
Hey, Northern Illinois is not bad.
DePaul is 1-5. 1-5. They are 1-5.
DePaul's one win was South Dakota.
They are 1-5. They
lost the Chico Carter Bowl.
No, listen to this. They are 1-5. They have played one high major team, and that high major team finished 221st in KenPom last year.
Hey, they're 5-0 though.
Somehow, why weren't they on this?
I haven't watched them. That's why.
Okay, that's fair.
But they're definitely in that Ole Miss tier.
All right.
DePaul is embarrassingly bad. Do you have anything to add? Any other teams that you want to ask me where you think they go?
You didn't have St. Mary's on here, did you?
Unconvinced and disappointing.
Wisconsin?
I told you intrigued.
I think that might be it.
Really? You don't want to know anything?
I'm thinking. No, NC State lost. Like I don't
I'd
really
say
care.
Florida State is mid as expected.
Okay.
Um,
Any mid majors that you didn't talk about?
Grand Canyon, UMass Lowell, I think they're good.
What about JMU?
Oh, undefeated, but not fully convinced it's a top 25 team.
Yeah, I actually don't even need to be convinced. Like they're just not a top 25 team.
So do you think they're undefeated, but not fully convinced they're a top 50 team?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
I think I'd have them in a top. I don't even know.
Virginia Tech?
Mid as expected.
Okay.
Beat Iowa State. Congratulations. That kind of puts them in between that and the intrigued, but not as good as the other intrigued, but I'm not really intrigued by them. That's the thing.
Where did you have Texas again?
Texas, intrigued.
What about Texas Tech?
Intrigued.
I am intrigued by Texas as well, by the way. I'm intrigued by...
By the way, if I ever say I'm intrigued by Oklahoma State, it's 10 push-ups.
You know what else? You know what else I'm intrigued by?
What?
Sample sizes. I'm very intrigued by them.
Dylan DeSuit, 22 points per game.
Northwestern.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Like, I think I know what they are, but I'm not sure how good what they are is.
Okay. Indiana.
For the love of God, run offensive sets.
I knew that. I just wanted to hear you say it
again. Okay, you can say it again. You can ask me to say it whenever you want.
No, it's okay. I'll save the pain for another day.
For the love of God, run!
Duke plays an ACC game on Saturday.
Yeah, so does Syracuse.
Oh, you guys are at Virginia. How many points will Syracuse score in that game?
29.
27. I subtract 2 points for not running off offensive sets.
No, I already factored that part in.
Okay, good.
I kind of docked them like 20. I was gonna say 49, but
you know what? At some point later this week, if I have time, I will make tiers of my own, and we will go over them.
This is my big cat tier list.
Oh, mine will be much more memeable in terms of like how it resembles his.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I've got to come up with better names for the tiers, but like this is kind of just I did this in French class.
Can you on the tier maker thing, like that website, can you like import your own pictures to use?
So are you just gonna like try and put in the Kirk Cousins image?
No, dude. I'm not. I promise.
I don't know, but I gotta go. This has been a great episode of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers. We'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah, that works.
I'm at Lemoyne Wednesday. I'm at SU tomorrow for LSU.
Gotcha.
It's obviously a pretty big game.
Yep.
We're gonna get our ass kicked. I am like, I'm not cheering for us to lose, but I'm quite convinced that we're going to, and I'm ready to like.
What did you just do? Okay, just to end the show, man.
It's over. Bye-bye.